There are people who don't sleepwalk, they slip. They wake up in places that shouldn't exist. Empty hotel hallways, staircases that loop forever, rooms without doors. And the terrifying part? Every person who's been there describes the exact same locations, down to the smell, the lighting, even the temperature. If that's true, then millions of us may be sleepwalking into part of reality no human was ever meant to see. The idea is called the Liminal Sleepwalker Theory, and after digging into the cases, the stories, and the strange patterns connecting them, it becomes much harder to dismiss this as just dreams. Because according to this theory, certain people don't wander in their sleep, they wander out, into places behind reality, places that sit in the cracks and seem off to the world, like backstage rooms in a theater, hidden but real. To understand this, you need to understand liminal spaces. These are environments that feel familiar, but wrong. Hotel hallways with endless identical doors, empty malls humming with fluorescent lights, bus stations at 3 a.m., underground tunnels that echo in unnatural ways. Psychologists call them transitional spaces. The theory says they're much more than that. They're buffer zones, loading screens between dimensions, the dead space between timelines. People who slip into these places while sleepwalking describe the same sensations. Total silence, air that feels thick and heavy, lights that flicker without rhythm, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched from behind walls. And here's the strangest part. These descriptions are nearly identical across thousands of reports from different countries and different decades. This isn't one person dreaming, this is many different people describing the same place. One of the most famous cases comes from a 22-year-old known only as E. He didn't sleepwalk often, once or twice a year at most, but one night, he woke up standing, barefoot, in a long corridor lit by pale yellow lights. No windows, no doors, just a hallway stretching endlessly in both directions. The hum of the lights wasn't electrical. He said it felt like breathing. When he started walking, he noticed something that still haunts him. His footsteps didn't echo at all. The floor felt soft, like it was padded. He walked for what felt like an hour, but he never got tired. His heartbeat never increased. His breathing stayed perfectly normal. It was like his body wasn't reacting to the environment. When he finally blinked, he was back in his bed, but his feet were covered in a strange gray dust he couldn't explain, a dust that didn't match anything in his home. Another case involves a nurse in Ontario who said she woke up in a stairwell, but this wasn't a normal staircase. It went up and down endlessly, without any doors or landings, just steps. She walked up 20 steps, turned around, and found that the staircase behind her now had fewer steps than before, like the environment was rewriting itself. When she called out for help, her voice echoed wrong, like it bounced off walls that weren't actually there. She covered her ears because the echo didn't stop after she stopped talking. It just kept going. She blinked once, and suddenly she was in her bedroom, sitting upright, in her sheets, drenched in sweat. The next morning, she found a handrail burned down her palm, the same hand she remembered gripping the railing in that impossible stairwell. There's also the story of a teenager in Brazil who woke up in what looked like an empty airport terminal. Long rows of chairs, flickering monitors, and no people. He said he could hear announcements over the speakers, but the words made no sense. It was like a language he recognized but couldn't translate. Something inside him told him not to go near the gates. He backed away slowly, closed his eyes for a second, and when he opened them, he was outside his house, standing in the cold at 4 a.m. For decades, there's been a pattern in these stories. The people who slip describe the same lighting, the same stillness, the same architecture. It's as if these places exist independently of the person entering them, and the deeper you look, the more disturbing the story becomes. Some researchers believe these liminal spaces aren't random at all. They're maintenance tunnels for reality, the areas the universe uses to transition between timelines. Most people never see them because they're locked out while fully conscious. But sleepwalking disrupts the brain enough that the door unlocks and the person drifts through. Others believe these are leftover fragments from previous versions of the universe, places that were real once but no longer have a purpose, like abandoned buildings in the blueprint of creation. And the darkest theory is this: these spaces are watching. They are aware, they don't have eyes, but they observe every person who enters. One sleepwalker described the feeling perfectly. It wasn't that someone was watching me, it was that the space itself was aware I was inside of it. There are thousands of cases like this. People who wake up in stairwells that loop, parking garages with no exit, offices with elevators that don't open, long hallways where the lights hum like a heartbeat, and every time the person snaps back to reality with some kind of physical proof they weren't dreaming. Dust, burns, cuts, even bruises shaped like handprints from someone who wasn't there. So the question becomes, if these places are real, where are they? Why do they exist? And why do only certain people slip into them? The Liminal Sleepwalker Theory suggests that these people aren't chosen. They're simply the ones whose internal frequency drifts slightly when they sleep, like a radio station falling just out of tune. Their body stays in this world, but their awareness moves sideways into the spaces in between. And maybe the scariest part isn't that these places exist, it's that they might not be empty. Some sleepwalkers claim they've heard footsteps behind them, breathing behind walls, shadows moving in the corners, things watching from places they can't see. If that's true, then those who slip aren't wandering alone. And if these places are aware enough to watch you, then they're aware enough to remember you. Stay weird.